Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. So this is video 2 in the BMAT series. In video 1, I gave an overview to the BMAT to give you some more information. In this video, I'll be going into section 1. If you're new to this channel, my name's Brian. I'm a newly qualified junior doctor in London. I've studied medicine at the University of Cambridge and at Imperial College in London. I'm also the founder and the president of Into Med School. We're an organisation that provides free support and mentorship for children all over the UK hoping to apply to medicine at university. If you want more information about what we do at Into Med School and possibly apply for a mentor, then check out the description below. Okay, section 1. What is it and why do they ask you to do it? So section 1 of the BMAT is looking at your problem solving skills and your ability to apply that to multiple choice questions. In this section, they're testing the skills that are really important for anyone who's going into a science-based subject and therefore going on to do a science-based profession. You can divide the questions in this section into two main categories. You have the problem solving questions and you have the critical thinking questions. In the exam, you'll get approximately 50% of each, although it can vary from year to year. In the exam, the two styles of questions are also jumbled up together. So it's not like you're going to get all of the problem solving ones and then the critical thinking ones. For this reason, it's really important that you get used to the style of questions so that in the real thing, you'll be able to pick up what type of question they're asking you very quickly. It's also important to note that this part of the BMAT doesn't require any specific knowledge beyond a very basic understanding of GCSE maths. In this section, they're primarily looking at if you can think logically and if you can apply your spatial and verbal reasoning. Okay, so how is section 1 marked? All of section 1 questions are multiple choice questions. Each one is given 1 mark. As it's multiple choice, a lot of the possible answers that they're going to give you are likely to be very similar, and therefore in this section it's really important to be super precise. Okay, so now we look at the timing strategy. In this section, you're going to be given 32 questions in which you have to answer them in 1 hour. That gives you 113 seconds per question. If you are efficient, then it is completely possible to get through the whole of the section and answer all of the questions. However, as the timing is relatively tight, my first top tip would be to not spend longer than 2 minutes per question. I'll suggest that after the 2-minute mark, you make an educated guess based on the possible answers that they've given. Hopefully by this point, you would have ruled out some of the possible answers and then you can make an educated guess based on what's remaining. It's really not worth spending 5 minutes trying to answer a question that you've been really stuck on and then find out that you can't answer the last 3 questions because you've run out of time, especially if these turn out to be very easy questions for you to answer. But I wouldn't worry too much about the timing in section 1. When you start doing practice questions, what you'll find is that section 1 is generally less time constrained than section number 2. As I mentioned earlier on, there are 2 types of questions. You've got the problem solving ones and you have the critical thinking ones. People generally find that the critical thinking ones take about 30 to 40 seconds to answer because there's no general knowledge that's really required. The problem solving questions generally take a little bit longer. And that's because there's a little bit of GCSE maths in there that you need to use to answer the questions. From my experience and the experience of other people that have done really well in the BMAT, the thing that determines how well you do is usually actually how fast you can read through the question. In section 1, there's sometimes quite a sizable amount of text that you have to read through before you get to the answers. Obviously, the amount of time it takes you to read this and to process the question affects how much time you then have to actually answer the questions and look through the possible answers. So when you go through the practice papers, I'll suggest you don't get bogged down by all the specific words. Learn to skim read and read it through the whole text very quickly so that you can actually find out what they're trying to ask you. Okay, in my next 2 videos, I'm going to be breaking down the 2 different types of questions in section 1, the problem solving questions and the critical thinking questions. You should approach each of these differently, so I'll give you my top tips for each of those styles of question. If you're interested in those videos, then do subscribe to this channel. If you've got any comments or questions, then please put them in the comment section below and I'll do my best to answer them. Lastly, thank you very much for watching and for subscribing. I hope to see you next time.